Story 1. The Mirror That Watched Us. Midnight. A glass-walled apartment. Every reflection looked back, except one. It was almost midnight when I reached her building, 30 floors of glass and quiet. She'd asked for discretion, no names, no small talk, just presence. The elevator opened straight into her living room, all marble and mirrors. The city lights folded into the walls, multiplying in silver fragments until I wasn't sure which reflection was mine. Then I heard it, a faint hum, low and steady, coming from a full-length mirror facing the bed. She said it was part of the sound system, that the penthouse was wired for mood. Maybe that was true. Still, every time I moved closer to her, the hum deepened like the glass had lungs. We kept our distance at first, circling in reflections, our movements softer than our voices. Her perfume was faint, vanilla and ozone, and when she brushed my sleeve, the mirror pulsed again. Just once. Like a heartbeat that didn't belong to either of us. We talked about nothing that mattered, weather, the view, the kind of small talk people used to keep from feeling watched. But I felt it anyway. The hum behind us changed pitch when she laughed. I caught our reflections in the glass, two figures too still, too centered. Her reflection blinked slower than she did. I almost mentioned it, then stopped. You don't break the illusion when someone's paying to believe in it. She asked me to sit with her on the edge of the bed, the mirror right across from us. Our hands met on the comforter, barely touching. The vibration came again, faint, rhythmic. It wasn't coming from the floor or the speakers. It was coming from inside the mirror. I leaned forward, pretending to adjust my cuff, and saw light ripple through the glass, like static on a paused screen. She noticed me staring and smiled, slow, knowing. It reacts to movement, she said. Her tone was light, but her pulse wasn't. I could see it at her throat, quick and shallow. When I lifted my hand toward the mirror, the hum swelled, a soft vibration that ran up my wrist and into my chest. It felt almost responsive. I told myself it was just feedback, some high-end tech thing. Still, my reflection didn't move exactly when I did. There was a delay, barely a breath long but real. We both froze. The mirror stayed bright for a moment, holding our shapes like a photograph. Then it darkened, almost imperceptibly, and showed us again, but slightly off. My reflection's eyes were fixed not on me, but on her. She didn't see it. She leaned closer, her breath warm against my cheek, whispering something I didn't catch. I nodded anyway because my reflection was still staring long after she'd turned away. The air felt charged the way it does before a storm. Every sound in that apartment seemed too sharp. The whisper of fabric, the low buzz under the floor. She reached to turn off a lamp, and for a moment the city light alone lit us, washing everything in silver. The mirror glowed faintly, a thin line of red tracing its edge. When she brushed her fingertips across my neck, the hum deepened. My reflection leaned in closer than I had. I could see it, his lips near her ear, while mine hadn't moved at all. I pulled back, pretending it was play, but she caught my hand. "Don't stop," she murmured, voice almost pleading. Her pupils were wide, glassy, like she was listening to something only she could hear. I glanced toward the mirror again. The second reflection was gone. Only one version of us remained, framed in light. Still, the air vibrated against my skin, and I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, somewhere, was watching through the glass. The hum cut out suddenly, replaced by a low mechanical click. She stiffened. I followed her gaze toward the mirror, now black, reflective only in shards of city light. Behind us, something moved. A door I hadn't noticed before eased open with a slow, hydraulic sigh. A man stepped out, tall, composed, holding a small remote in one hand. His suit was immaculate, his face unreadable. The woman's voice cracked when she spoke his name, but he didn't answer. He just pressed a button, and the mirror lit up again, this time showing us from behind. It wasn't a reflection. It was a feed. Angles shifted, cameras hidden in the corners catching every breath, every glance. My stomach turned cold. The man stood by the door, silent, watching the screen instead of us. She tried to speak, but he raised a hand, more command than threat. The red light on the mirror blinked once, then steadied. That faint vibration started again, sinking to my heartbeat until I couldn't tell which one was mine. She whispered, "Don't move," but her voice was small, terrified. The mirror's surface rippled again, showing not the present but moments before. Our movements looped like a rehearsal. The man stepped closer, remote still in hand, his eyes fixed on me through the glass. "You were never here," he said quietly, almost kind. The feed froze on my face, mouth half open, caught between obedience and escape. The red light dimmed to a pulse. "Would you still look at yourself after that?" I left before sunrise. The elevator ride down felt endless, the city below indifferent and pale. I deleted her number that morning, deleted the messages too, but the next night, another request came in. Same rate, same time, same address, different name. For a moment, I hovered over accept, watching my reflection in the phone screen, waiting for it to blink first. Story 2. Voicemail 723. The morning after she paid me to leave quietly, my phone lit up. A man's voice I'd never heard before started describing the sheets, and what I was wearing when I left. The morning was too clean for what I'd done. Light came through the blinds in narrow bands, slicing across the sheets, the same one she'd asked me not to wrinkle. I sat on the edge of the bed, half-dressed, watching dust drift through the air like slow rain. The house was quiet. Suburban quiet. Just birds, air conditioning, and a heartbeat that wasn't sure it should still be here. My phone lit up at 7:23. No ringtone, just a saved voicemail notification, the kind you don't remember getting. The contact was blank. I pressed play without thinking. A man's voice filled the room, low and steady, describing the color of the sheets, and what I'd been wearing when I left. At first, I thought it was a prank. Some jealous neighbor, maybe someone who'd seen me come in last night. But the voice wasn't angry. It was calm, observant. He described the faint cologne she'd asked me not to wear, the way my shirt had stayed half-buttoned. Each detail landed like a fingertip on the back of my neck. He wasn't guessing. He'd been here. I looked around the bedroom, half expecting a camera light to blink from the corner, but there was nothing. Just the scent of her perfume hanging in the still air. My phone buzzed again before I could breathe. Another voicemail. Same number, same timestamp. I hit play. This time, the voice whispered her name mid-sentence, soft, like a warning he was too close to give in person. The message ended with a breath that wasn't quite a sigh, more like someone trying not to be heard. I replayed it slower this time. Behind his whisper, there was a faint rustle, a sound I knew too well. Sheets. The same pattern brushing against skin. My throat tightened. I checked the time again. Both messages were marked 7:23. The system shouldn't allow that. I left the room and walked toward the kitchen, still buttoning my shirt, half hoping she'd left a note or something simple to explain it all. The house was spotless, too spotless, like someone had cleaned in a hurry. Her mug was gone. The phone in my hand buzzed once more, but this time it wasn't a voicemail. It was a call. From my own number. For a long second I just watched the screen glow. My name. My number. The ringtone felt louder than it should have been, echoing through the empty house. I didn't answer, not right away. I let it ring until the sound folded into silence. Then the voicemail icon appeared again. My thumb hesitated, but curiosity always wins. The playback started with static, then breathing. My breathing. Slow, uneven, like it had been recorded through a wall. A familiar rhythm. I heard the creak of the headboard, the whisper of fabric, her laugh, and then mine, low and nervous. The sound made my skin crawl. Whoever sent this had been close enough to hear what we didn't even say out loud. I tried to delete the message, but my screen froze halfway through, the waveform still visible, the breath looped on repeat. A pulse of static rolled through the speaker, followed by a voice that wasn't in the room. Mine again, but slower. "Don't come back." My mouth went dry. I dropped the phone and it landed face up on the tile, still glowing, still breathing for me. A shadow moved in the hallway. Or maybe it was the reflection of light off a passing car. I told myself that twice. My hands shook as I picked the phone back up. The message was gone, replaced by a single text from her. He knows. Don't come back. For a second I thought about saving it. Proof. Memory. Something. Would you delete the message or keep it? Outside, the neighborhood was already awake. Sprinklers hissing, engines starting, life pretending nothing had happened. I sat in my car for a long time, the phone on the passenger seat like something alive. Every few minutes, the screen would flicker, the battery refusing to die. Once, I thought I heard that breath again through the speaker, quieter this time, syncing with mine. I changed my number that afternoon. Deleted her contact. Swore I'd forget the address. But some nights, around 7:23, my new phone lights up for half a second. No call, no message, just light. It fades before I can touch it. And I can't tell if I'm relieved or waiting for it to ring again. Story 3. The perfume that stayed. They say scent is memory. But what if someone used it to make sure you'd never forget them, no matter how hard you tried to wash it away? The perfume that stayed. I met her at the hotel just past 11. The air in the hallway was still thick with that scent she wore. It clung to the walls, to my clothes, even after she left. I'd showered twice, scrubbed until my skin stung, but it was still there. Sweet, amber, faintly metallic. Like warmth trapped in silk. By the time I dressed again, the scent had shifted. It didn't fade, it deepened as if reacting to my pulse. I told myself it was just memory, that perfumes linger when you notice them too much. But when the room phone rang, one short buzz, no voice, the air filled with it again. Stronger. Fresher. Like she just brushed past me. I went down to the lobby bar, hoping for neutral air. The kind that smells like glass and disinfectant. But the scent followed, lighter this time, like a whisper caught on fabric. I sat near the far end, pretending to check messages, though my hands were shaking just enough to blur the screen. 2 missed calls. Unknown number. The same number that had buzzed my room. When I lifted my jacket from the stool, the smell hit harder. Not her perfume anymore, sharper, darker. I held the fabric to the light and noticed the label stitched inside. A name I didn't recognize, embossed in gold. A custom blend. I looked it up right there, scrolling through pages until I found it. It was her husband's brand. Exclusive. Discontinued 5 years ago. He was already sitting there when I looked up, 3 stools away, posture too still for someone just drinking. His shirt was crisp, dark, and the smell coming off him was unmistakable. The same scent. Her scent. Or his. I couldn't tell anymore. He raised his glass slightly as if we shared a joke I didn't get, then turned back to the muted TV above the bar. I kept waiting for him to look again. He didn't have to. The air between us was enough. I left my drink half full and stepped outside. The night was wet and humming, traffic, wind, faraway music. But beneath it, that trace still followed, ghosting the back of my throat. I told myself it was on my jacket, that I'd throw it away when I got home. Then my phone lit up again. Same unknown number. This time when I answered, there was a slow inhale on the other end. A man's breath. Then silence. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I booked another room, 2 floors down, no record under my name. The clerk didn't ask questions. I told myself I just needed sleep, but I kept the light on, sitting against the headboard, breathing through my shirt. Every time my phone buzzed, that smell pulsed stronger. Not imagination. A rhythm. Like the scent itself was following the signal. Around 3 a.m., I heard footsteps stop outside my door. Slow. Careful. The kind that test the carpet. I waited, listening, until the faint sound of glass tapping, once, twice, came from the hallway. I reached for the peephole, but it was black. Something covered it from the outside. When I finally pulled the door open, the corridor was empty, except for a small vial left by the threshold. Inside the vial was the same amber liquid. The same warmth that had clung to her skin. A folded note was wrapped around its neck, tied with a strand of dark thread. I didn't have to open it to know who it was from, but I did anyway. For words handwritten in looping ink, "You smell like me now." My fingers were trembling, yet I couldn't drop it. The scent bloomed out of the glass, heavy and deliberate, a claim, not a memory. I stumbled to the sink, turned on the water full blast, and scrubbed until the porcelain went slick. But the smell didn't wash away. It grew sweeter, closer, like someone breathing against my ear. That's when I whispered it out loud, half to the mirror, half to the dark behind me. "Would you wash it off?" The question didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like his. Morning light came thin through the curtains, pale and harmless. I almost convinced myself it had all been exhaustion. Perfume residue, mixed signals, nerves. I threw the vial into the trash, double-bagged it, and checked out before anyone could stop me. In the elevator mirror, I still looked the same. But the air around me carried that faint, warm trace, like it had learned my pulse. My next client met me in the hotel cafe. She smiled, polite, professional, until she leaned closer and I caught it. The same scent. Identical. She noticed my face change and smiled wider, like she knew. "You smell nice," she said. And for a second I couldn't breathe. If you've ever smelled something that didn't want to leave you, tell me how long it stayed. Story 4. The locked door at mile 19. They say nothing good happens after 2 a.m. They never mentioned the key waiting for me under the fog. It was 2:03 a.m. when her text came through, mile 19. Same spot. The rest stop was drowned in sodium light, orange haze bleeding into the fog. My car idled a few spaces away, heater humming, when I saw her silhouette waiting by the vending machines. Always the same place. Always that look, calm, rehearsed, like she'd been expecting something worse than me. Inside her car, the air was warm and heavy with perfume. Leather, mint, and something faintly metallic. She smiled, soft and distant, and pointed to the dashboard. A second key rested there, gleaming like it had its own pulse. "Don't touch that," she said. Her voice wasn't playful. It was careful, almost reverent. I laughed it off, but she didn't. Her eyes stayed fixed on the windshield, on something I couldn't see. She always booked me for the same hour. No hotel, no home, just that car facing the dark stretch of highway. I used to think it was about secrecy, maybe a thrill. But that night, she kept checking the rearview mirror like she was expecting someone. "He knows this place," she murmured. I asked who he was, but she only smiled, that kind of smile that hides behind fear. The fog thickened until the world outside looked like wet glass. We barely touched, barely spoke. Her breath trembled close to my ear when she whispered, "If you hear footsteps, don't look." It was the way she said it, not seductive but pleading. My pulse kicked. Somewhere between curiosity and dread, I realized I wasn't the one in control tonight. A low thud came from the back of the car. Not loud, just enough to make the air shift. She froze, her hand gripping my wrist hard enough to sting. The heater fan clicked off by itself. In the silence that followed, I could hear it again. Soft pressure on metal, like someone testing the door handle through the fog. She leaned closer, her lips brushing my neck as if to whisper, but her breath stopped halfway. "Don't move," she mouthed instead. The faintest scrape traveled along the passenger side window. Fingertips. I couldn't tell. The urge to turn to see burned through me, but her grip tightened. "Please," she whispered, voice trembling. "If he gets in, we both die." The noise stopped. Just stopped. She let go of my wrist, and for a moment the only sound was our breathing, uneven, sinking by accident. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe wind. Maybe a truck passing miles away. She laughed once, short and dry, like she'd swallowed it. "He does that," she said. "He waits until you start to believe you imagined it." A cold draft slipped in through the vents. The dashboard light flickered once, then steadied. The second key, the one she'd warned me about, was no longer lying flat. It stood upright, balanced on its edge, trembling like a compass needle. I reached for it before I could stop myself. but she slapped my hand away. "Do you want him to find us faster?" she hissed. Her pupils looked too large, swallowing the glow. Her phone buzzed once against the console. No ringtone, no light, just a single vibration. She didn't look at it. Outside, the fog glowed faintly blue as if headlights were sweeping the lot. Then came the sound, the distinct metallic click of another car unlocking nearby. She flinched, breath hitching against my shoulder. "He's here," she said, barely audible. "Don't make a sound." I wanted to ask who, but my throat refused. The engine roared to life, her car, not mine. The steering wheel turned a fraction on its own, straightening as if guided by invisible hands. I jerked back, but she didn't move. Her eyes were locked on the spare key, now spinning slowly on the dashboard. "He found the signal," she whispered, voice cracking. "He's inside the system." The air filled with static, faint and rhythmic, like someone breathing through the speakers. "Would you have taken the key?" The locks clicked open all at once. Every door. Every sound too sharp in the dense quiet. She lunged forward and yanked the gear into drive, but the car didn't move. The engine kept idling like it was thinking. Outside, a shadow brushed past the window. No face. No footsteps. Just that shape in the fog, pausing long enough to tilt its head toward us. Her hands trembled over the wheel. "If he gets in," she said again, "you'll know why I never take the key home." When I woke, dawn was bleeding into the fog. The passenger seat was empty, still warm. Her phone sat on the floor, screen cracked, showing a single text. "You shouldn't have touched it." I didn't remember driving away, but my car was parked miles from the rest stop. That second key? It was on my dashboard now, shining under new light. "I still haven't touched it, but if it turned once, just once, would you?" Story 5. Session notes. Afternoon light, therapist's office. A red light blinks once behind the bookshelf, small enough to miss, steady enough to remember. I booked the appointment under a fake name. Middle of the afternoon, sun slicing through the blinds, too bright for what I was there to say. Her office smelled like coffee and paper, something warm hiding inside the clinical air. I told her I needed privacy work, and she nodded like she already knew what that meant. Behind her bookshelf, a faint red light blinked, steady, patient, almost polite. She had that calm therapist voice. Low, deliberate, like she could turn any confession into a breathing exercise. I tried not to notice how close she sat, how her perfume lingered between each question. My chest felt tight, not from fear but from the way she held silence. When she smiled, her eyes didn't. "Let's start," she said. "Tell me about the last time you felt watched." She asked things that didn't appear anywhere online. Details I'd never said out loud, how I fold my shirt cuffs, the hotel chain I prefer, what name I use when I want to be someone else. Every time I hesitated, her pen light rolled between her fingers, glinting once against the lens hidden at its tip. I told myself it was just a pen, that maybe the blinking I'd seen was reflection. Still, she wrote faster when I lied. Her voice softened, almost affectionate. "You help people feel seen," she said. "But when do you let them see you?" The question landed somewhere deep, heavy. I heard the faint hum of her monitor, a low electric breath, and something flickered on the glass. My reflection, faint but live, moving a half-second behind me. The timestamp pulsed in the corner like a heartbeat. I leaned forward, pretending to stretch, but really to check the monitor's reflection. My own face stared back, smaller, framed in a window labeled Session Notes. The image wasn't frozen. It breathed when I did. Behind me, the bookshelf glowed faintly red again, steady as a pulse. My throat felt dry. "Is this session recorded?" I asked. She smiled without looking up. "Only for training purposes." Her tone was smooth, too smooth. Then, softly, "You're performing even now, aren't you?" The pen light clicked once, not a switch, more like a camera shutter. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The air between us felt charged, humming with something that wasn't quite sound. Her eyes didn't blink. She leaned closer, elbows on her knees, voice barely above a whisper. "You sell closeness," she said. "Let me see how you make people trust you." Her breath touched my cheek, faint mint, steady rhythm. I could feel her studying the tremor in my hands. The room felt smaller now, like the walls had shifted in to listen. Each second stretched, heavy with everything unspoken. Her questions grew slower, more deliberate. "Do they call you by your real name?" she asked. "Do they know what you're afraid of?" My pulse answered for me. I caught the light again, that same red pulse between the books, and realized it was reflecting in her eyes, recording both of us. My voice cracked when I said, "You're not supposed to know these things." She smiled and wrote something down I couldn't see. She stood then, slow and deliberate, crossing behind me to adjust the blinds. The light in the room dimmed, soft enough that the red LED painted a faint halo across the wall. Her penlight rested on the desk, pointed toward me. I could still hear the soft clicking of her keyboard, though she wasn't typing. Someone, was writing back. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Detached. Administrative. "He'll need these notes tonight." Just that. No explanation. She smoothed her skirt, gathered her notebook, and stepped aside like making space for someone else. I looked at the chair across from me, still warm, still indented from her shape, and the door behind it creaked open. A man in a gray suit entered as if he'd been waiting outside the whole time. No knock, no greeting. He sat in her chair, opened the same notebook, and continued her notes mid-sentence. His penlight matched hers, same faint red pulse. I stood, unsure if I was dismissed or invited to stay. He didn't look up when he said, "You've already told us everything we need." My reflection on the monitor nodded a beat too late. That night, my client, a woman I'd never met before, smiled after our first drink and said, "I'm glad you were honest in therapy." Her hand brushed mine, familiar in a way that froze me. I haven't booked another session since. Still, sometimes when I breathe too close to a mirror, the red light flickers back. Would you keep talking if you knew someone else was listening?